Hello and welcome to the FATBOSS guide to the Blackwater Behemoth in the Eternal Palace.
Yes, this underwater boss shouldn't be too difficult for you as long as you counter the boss's simple yet dangerous mechanics. Now, one very important thing before the fight begins, make sure that you've clicked on and gained the oxygen-rich membrane buff. This gives you faster swim speeds and underwater breathing, both of which will actually help you deal with the boss's abilities without drowning.
Now, whilst you're in the water, you are completely immune to all incoming healing. The only way to get rid of this debuff is to gain bioluminescence. For the raid, this buff comes from the pufferfish. 2 pufferfish are present on each of the boss's platforms, and killing one will give you a cloud for a short time. If you move into the cloud, it will give you a buff for 45 seconds, allowing you to be healed. You want to kill one of the fish straight away at the beginning of each platform, only killing the next to regain the bioluminescence buff 45 seconds later. By the time the second buff times out, the boss will slither away to the next platform. Tanks do not need to use the cloud to gain bioluminescence, as the boss applies a 15-second dot with its melee attacks, which has the same effect. This allows you to stay in melee range at all times, which is good because the boss will deal crazy raid-wide damage if it can't melee hit anyone. Tanks need to taunt off each other whenever their bioluminescence dot drops. This will also keep the boss's attack speed low, as it does gain a stacking 8% increase, which only drops upon hitting a new tank. Now, very importantly, when you have the bioluminescence buff from the pufferfish and you are not above a platform, you will be marked for 4 seconds. If you don't return to the platform within those 4 seconds, you will be simply one-shot. So it's vital that you remain on the platforms at all times. Now, whilst fighting the boss, the raid should try and keep spread at least 5 yards apart from anyone else as much as possible. This is because players too close to one another will take small bursts of damage from the boss's bioelectric feelers every 4 seconds or so. It isn't that much damage, so if you do need to be near other players to go and grab the pufferfish cloud, then it is fine, but aside from that, you should attempt to avoid the damage as much as possible. As for larger raid sizes, remember that you are in water, so you can swim above other players to spread out. Now, occasionally the boss will cast Shock Pulse. This will push all players away from the boss as it casts. At the end of the cast, it deals raid-wide damage that is reduced the further away you are from the boss. So you want to make sure that you're a good distance away from the boss when this expires, whilst making sure you're not completely pushed off the platform, as otherwise you might get one-shot by the fish. This is the single highest point of incoming raid damage, so healers you'll probably want to use a cooldown to cover each shock. Also for healers is that a bunch of players will frequently be given the Toxic Spine debuff, which deals a good amount of damage over 12 seconds. Just make sure you keep them topped up.
Now, once the boss reaches 100 energy, it will retreat back into its cave and appear in another cave further into the room. You need to swim to that new platform and interrupt the boss before his cavitation cast goes off, as it will wipe you pretty quickly if it goes through. Now, as the boss retreats away, slipstreams appear at the back of the platform. Moving into this gives you a nice extra movement speed increase, which will help you reach the platform way before the cast goes off. On normal mode, this also removes your bioluminescence buff, but on heroic and higher, it does not. That means that you need to wait before you leave the platform, as you cannot swim into open waters with the bioluminescence from the pufferfish. The tank debuff won't mark you for the one shot, so feel free to swim ahead, tanks. Along the path to the next platform, you will encounter a bunch of jellyfish. Do not touch them. They'll give you bioluminescence, which will lead to your death pretty quickly. Now, chances are that the raid will reach the new platform way before the boss finishes his cast. Feel free to slam onto him for a while, interrupting the cast in the last couple of seconds. The fight then repeats. Just make sure you get that pufferfish buff at the beginning of each platform, and then again just as it times out, whilst trying to remain spread as much as possible to avoid shocking each other. Each platform is slightly more broken up than the last, and standing in the gaps will mark you for the one shot, so just keep your wits about you. But either way, that's where we'll leave it here for today. If you want to know more about this boss or just want a handy written guide with tooltips and images to refer to during your raid, then do go check out our work over on Wowhead. A link for that is in the description below. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next one.
Thanks for watching.